sit down, adjust the old microphone. What's going on, YouTube? It's Blundzilla Video back with adding to the production quality. So I don't know if this microphone is going to be good, and I might have just, all the tests I did earlier were fucking flukes, but I'm pretty positive that this microphone is going to sound better than the audio that records from the camera. So I do have a VHS haul. I haven't been to fucking thrift stores in a while and like actually scoured for tapes, and ended up picking up fucking 4 tapes and a DVD today. But before I show those, I just want to show the movie that I did. I did watch one of the new ones, but I got to show a movie that I did watch tonight that just deserves to be talked about, and that is George Romero's Martin. So this film came out in 1977, so before Dawn of the Dead. This movie was shot by Michael Gornick, who also shot Dawn of the Dead. Tom Savini's in it. He doesn't play a big role. He's just like kind of this side character that barely has any dialogue. There's a scene where he's drinking in a bar, but that's about as far as it goes with Tom Savini. This isn't your ordinary vampire film. This is about a guy that appears to be a teenager, but he's really, 80 years old or whatever. He's supposedly born in the 1890s or some shit like that. Born into a vampire family, that is. And throughout the film, he has flashbacks that sort of let you know what it was like for him being a vampire back in the day. And there's some very graphic scenes in this film. There's some very intense moments. Like right from the beginning of the film, it lets you know there's no bullshit happening. You got Martin attacking this woman on a train, injecting her with some drugs, and then slitting her wrists and drinking her blood, because he's kind of here to like break all the cliches. Like there's a scene where the person he's staying with has a bunch of garlic throughout the house on the doors and stuff to keep him out, and Martin just eventually fucking grabs the garlic, takes a bite out of it, and he says, "This is all bullshit." You know what I mean? It's all bullshit. He smashes a cross, all that kind of stuff. So it's a different kind of vampire film, but it's fucking awesome. It's really 1970s. The blood is super red. This is a really cool addition from Anchor Bay. I wish that they did more of these. As a matter of fact, you know what? Now that I think about it, I do have a few of these Anchor Bays that have the gatefold cover. That's actually dope. I think I have. Matter of fact, I think God Told Me To is one of them, and I got Tomb of the Blind Dead 1 and 2, I believe, are also gatefold covers. So that is dope. Love having those kind of tapes. This is an original tape from the collection, like my dad's collection. So this is obviously one that's not going anywhere. Now, moving on to the films that I picked up today from the span of 3 thrift stores. Like, the thing is, pickings are slim out there, you know what I mean? All the good shit's been taken. When good shit comes out, it's swept up pretty fucking quickly. I remember the days of bringing home, like, and you guys probably remember my videos back then, like, bringing home fucking 20 tapes or some shit like that. Now it's, like, coming home with 4. But, granted, back in those days, I was picking up ridiculous stuff that just stupid shit. I was buying doubles all the time, and that was good about VHS Fest, because I unloaded all those fucking well, not all of them, but a decent amount of the doubles. But anyways, we're gonna break right into these films. The first one I'm gonna show is one that's totally like not what you'd think that I'd buy or anything like that, but it does have Robert De Niro in it, and the film is called Flawless, and it also stars Philip Seymour Hoffman. So I'm not really sure what the deal is with Philip Seymour Hoffman in this or not, but he kind of looks like he could be in like Drag on the cover. And reading the back, it looks like De Niro had a stroke, and now he's being taught to speak clearly by Philip Hoffman. I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. Like, I haven't watched this one. I'm interested though. I'm definitely interested because I like Philip Seymour Hoffman. The first movie that I really remember watching him in was probably Titanic, and then I know he was Capote, and he was in a few other films. Matter of fact, I think he was in Red Dragon as well, which was one of the Hannibal Lecter installments, which was actually pretty fucking good. I don't remember the bad guy's name in that film, but he's a great actor. He kind of looks like Liam Neeson in a way. Liam Neeson. Next, we're going to go into the film that I did watch. Okay, brace yourself for the fucking most outrageous, funniest, like, this is Joe Pesci. Like, I'm never going to not be able to watch Goodfellas, like, and not think of this movie, and that is The Super. So The Super came out in 1991, so I'm pretty positive that's the same year as Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas might be 1990, but either way, hot off the heels of Goodfellas, Joe Pesci does the film called The Super, a film in which he plays a slumlord of this nasty apartment building in New York. There's just the amount of one-liners he has in this movie. It was blowing my mind, and like a lot of times when he's alone, he's still like you can still hear like I don't know if it's a voiceover. It's obviously a voiceover, but you don't really see his lips moving. But it's just Joe Pesci one liner after one liner. This movie is racist. This movie's offensive. I loved it. It was so fucking so cool. Like me and my fucking girl watched this, and we were both like, "What the fuck are we watching? Like this is insane." I don't know what her take was at the end, but I love this film, man. I think it was so out there. Like there's basically I'm gonna spoil it. Okay, so if you don't wanna be spoiled about the Super, then just skip forward. Basically, the Super, he's Joe Pesci. He gets given a building by his father, who's like a total slumlord. So now Joe Pesci's the fucking slumlord, and he gets hit with some charges, basically housing concerns or whatever the fuck it is, and he's forced to live in the building for 120 days or until the building's up to code. And so he goes there. The place is a total shithole. Like his bathroom is fucked. Like the toilet's full of shitty water. The sinks are fucked. He jumps a hole through the roof of like or through the floor of his apartment into the next apartment below. Like it's insane. But as it goes with these kinds of movies, over the course of his stay at his own building, he realizes that things need to be fixed in order for himself to be comfortable, i.e., electricity, heating, different things like that. And throughout the course of the film, he sort of befriends all the tenants of the building, and it's beautiful in a way because like it's like a I almost said Scrooge McDuck. It's like an Ebenezer Scrooge type of story where here's a guy that has everything and he just totally fucks over all the little guys, and then in the end when his life gets put into perspective, basically he realizes that these are people and they have to be treated a certain way. So of course the movie ends with the building looking spectacular. Everything's up to date. One of the guys is like a superintendent now because there's a dude in the film that was in Predator 2. He's a Spanish cop that gets killed early on in the film. He's like takes Joe Pesci to play basketball for fun and all this stuff, and it's the reason I said for fun is because they get to the court, they play a game for fun. Joe Pesci is slam dunking on motherfuckers, if you can believe that or not, and he's killing it. Like the guy's passing the ball like he's Pistol Pete Maravich. Like it's insanity. And then the one guy on the opposing team says, "Hey, let's play for money." And Joe Pesci's like, "Yeah, okay." And then the Spanish dude from Predator 2 is like, "Listen, man, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea." But Joe Pesci's like, "No, fuck it, we'll do it." And basically, they get their asses kicked. It's out of hand. But this is the kind of movie I think that, like, I never heard of it at all. Like, I've never heard of this fucking thing, this Super. The cover's pretty hilarious. But the kind of thing that's fucked up about this cover is the dude that's holding Joe Pesci in this photo is in the movie for like maybe 10 minutes. If that. Like he's the dude that's on Joe Pesci and the Spanish dude from Predator 2's basketball team. I say the whole fucking thing every time. But you like if you see this out in the wild, pick it up. It's great. It's a hilarious like hour and a half of just nonsense. It's written by Sam Simon, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe he's one of the head writers or one of the upper echelon on The Simpsons, so that floats your boat. Moving on to something that I've never seen, but my Uncle Mike said this is probably one of the best of this action star's filmography, and that is Code of Silence by with Chuck Norris. It's actually directed by Andy Davis, story by Michael Butler and Dennis Shurak. I've never watched all of Chuck Norris's films. I'm not even gonna fucking sit here and say I've seen more than like 5. I've seen more than 5, but I haven't seen a lot of them. I know there's a shitload of them, and the thing is, I have them all mixed up in my head because for the longest time I had this Chuck Norris film stuck in my head, and it was the film where there's like a crazy guy that like lives in the fucking vents of this building. It was like a movie theater, and then flash forward years later, I find out that that film is called The Hero and the Terror. And there's other great Chuck Norris films like The Hitman. I've seen that. Um, Let me think. Hitman is definitely fucking kick ass. Hero and the Terror. Defiance. I believe he's in Defiance. He's got fuck. I look like a fucking novice right now, but I'm blanking. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the biggest Chuck Norris fanatic, but I definitely respect the guy, and I loved him in. I don't know if it was Way of the Dragon or Return of the Dragon. Like the thing is with those fucking Bruce Lee movies, man, I believe everyone can agree with this. The titling system with that is just, it's a nightmare. You know what I mean? It's a fucking nightmare. And that's for all Asian film, or not Asian, but just like international films in general. And they probably think the same with us, but I'm saying from my point of view, it's very fucking difficult and frustrating to be a movie fan when you're dealing with all these goddamn different titles. Like trying to, like, say you want to watch, like, this is no shit, and I've told this story before, but I'll make it real fast. Once upon a time, me and my dad were sitting around, and I think I got it right here somewhere. Yeah, right here. We're sitting around in his apartment, right? And we decided we were going to watch Lucio Fulci's Zombie, right? Which is a fucking great classic 1979 fucking exploitation horror, super duper special effects. Like, this is a well-known, well-respected horror film. So we watch it, okay? And then we pop in this tape right here, Zombie 2, The Dead Are Among Us. And me and my dad were like, this is fucking awesome. Same director, fuck, this is gonna be great. We pop this bastard in, and it's the same fucking movie. And I remember for the first 10 minutes we were thinking maybe they're just doing a bit of a recap. And then we're sitting there thinking, this is years ago. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem like a recap. This is the same fucking movie. So thus started the whole fucked up titling sequences for me. Alright, back to the haul. I know that was kind of fucking out of the blue, but next is a weird movie, not a weird movie, but a strange movie, and the title is what caught my eye, and that is The Walking Dead. So this looks like this is a war film of some type. I don't know which war it's supposed to be, but you got Eddie Griffin, you got the dude from Menace to Society, you got the dude from New Jack City, you got the dude from Terminator 2, and then you got this random white dude who I have no fucking idea who it is. But it's a war. It's a war. It's about pride. It's about time the story is told. It's about time the story is told. So I don't know. You got a badass photo of Eddie Griffin on the back. It's not hard for me to take him serious, but it's gonna be easy for me to buy him as a badass because this photo alone just screams badassery. I love Eddie Griffin, for the record. Yeah, HBO, Savoy, they put out a lot of quality titles, man. A lot of good original films. Like, there's a movie I'm looking for right now. It's called Subway Stories, and it's an anthology film about the subway in New York. And fuck, man, it was so goddamn good. I watched it on IFC, like back in like 2011 or some shit like that. But I discovered a lot of quality films through IFC. Yeah, so The Walking Dead, I guess, I don't really have anything to say about it. I haven't watched it yet. The last film is a film that I have watched. It's been a long time, long overdue to watch this. I thought, like, when I bought this, I knew there could have been a chance that I owned this already, but gladly and luckily, I do not. So, this film is Hoodlum, directed by Bill Duke, who you may fucking know from Predator. You may know him from Get Rich or Die Tryin'. You may know him from Commando. You may know him from his various fucking roles throughout cinema history. Like, this guy is a badass in his own rights. And then he directs a fucking film starring Tim Roth, Lawrence Fishburne, Andy Garcia, Vanessa Williams. Basically a movie about... okay, so in case you've ever seen... or let's say you've seen American Gangster with Denzel Washington. You remember the character in the beginning of the film that Denzel Washington was all chummy with, like the old dude, Bumpy Johnson? Lawrence Fishburne is playing Bumpy Johnson in this film. Andy Garcia is playing Lucky Luciano. And Tim Roth is playing Dutch Schultz, and Tim Roth is a bad, cold motherfucker in this film. He's always badass, and I've never seen a movie with him that I did not like. Real quick, I was actually gonna pop in. Well, I wasn't going to, but it kind of crossed my mind. I looked at Four Rooms back there. I got a copy of Four Rooms, which I think I put in for a minute once a long time ago. I never finished it. I know that, so definitely due to watch that. But this is the type of movie that you watch along with like Harlem Nights. You know what I mean? Or I would double this with American Gangster, because I will say this: American Gangster with Denzel Washington, Russell Crowe, RZA, fucking all those OG actors and whatnot. That is a quality film. That is one of my favorite modern day actioneers, crime films. You know, it's like a Scarface, an updated Scarface. I don't think people talk about that movie enough, because like it's all over the place. Like you got, I thought that for a minute there, I thought that I wasn't wearing this chain and I would have fucking had to snap, but I just lost my train of thought. Basically, Hoodlum, fucking quality film. Glad to finally own it. And the thing is, I don't own it on DVD, but there still could be a chance I have it on tape, but that doesn't really matter because there is special features including trivia and production notes and the original theatrical trailer. Like, what the fuck is that? Come on. Like, what year did this DVD come out? Before there was fucking anything other than the trailer? And I respect that, you know, at least the trailer. Okay, here we go. So we got like we got a little behind the scenes thing. I'll give this a read for you. Dutch Schultz, Lucky Luciano, Bumpy Johnson, they're all legendary crime lords, and to tell their fascinating and often violent stories, the makers of Hoodlum knew that a vast canvas was needed. To recreate the sizzle and electrifying energy of the 1930s era Harlem, a mass effort was undertaken in all departments, from production design to wardrobe, from makeup to music. A superb cast joined forces with the brilliant production team to bring life all the action, glamour, and excitement of this dynamic era. And then, of course, you got a bunch of other shit. You got some good tunes in there. Here's a kind of a cool little tidbit. Andy Garcia had a small latex appliance glued to his eyelid by makeup artist Rick Sharp. So, because you can tell on the cover of the DVD, like, his eye's all fucked up because Lucky Luciano, famous mobster from the era, he had a bit of an eye thing. Like, one thing that I was totally obsessed for and immersed in for a long time was mafia history. So, I think I'm due to do a mafia film like video. Like, if you watch Vlad TV, which I fucking hate to admit that I watch that horse shit, but I do, because sometimes you get people on there that you just kind of like, well, I kind of want to hear what that guy has to say, even though Vlad's gonna fucking just be like, so, you know, what do you mean by, you know, like, maybe not so much anymore, but I remember watching these hood fucking documentaries way back in the day where it'd be like a guy and he'd go into a neighborhood, bunch of these like hardcore looking fuckers, and he'd be like, yo, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're just surviving out here, we're eating, or some shit like that. They would use some form of slang, and the guy'd be like, yo, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? You mean you selling? You selling crack? And shit, and it's like, you're a fucking snitch, bro. Like, what are you doing? Fuck. Rant over. That's about it for this one, YouTube. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And as always, have a good, lovely day. Adios, amigos. Guess I'll just sit here and fade to black. Cool.